All right, for the next video, we're going to look at creating code for our main character player. I just want to demonstrate to you what the outcome is going to look like to some extent. Yours might look different. So WASD will run, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there is acceleration and sliding, jumping, double jump. I can throw these knives and they have a timer on them, so after a little bit of time they actually explode, or they explode if they hit a wall. Wall jumping all the way up. Okay, so I can run and it accelerates. I haven't got it actually exploding anything or falling into spikes, etc. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like, just so you know. To start off with, we're going to need to create a create event in our object player, and we're going to create a script. This script is going to be called player initialize, and we're going to set up some basic values in here. So I've already done this, and you can type this out. Friction equals argument 0. Friction is built into GameMaker, so that's why it's coming up as red. So it's a special thing that's going to belong to that object. Max speed is the variable we're creating, and it's going to be equal to argument 1. Can jump is a variable that we're creating, and we're going to make that a Boolean variable, which means it's going to be either true or false. So friction is going to be a floating point or fractional, 0.6, 0.5. Max speed is going to be a whole number. That's an integer. Can jump is going to be a Boolean type. GameMaker, these are undeclared, so we could actually just change it at any time. We don't need to say it's a Boolean variable. I'm just writing it in here in a comment afterwards. Sprite index equals SPR idle. That's what it's going to start at, and that's why we didn't assign anything up here, because we're just going to put it in the code. Jump speed is going to be equal to argument 3, whatever we send to it. And gravity direction, we want gravity to be downwards all the time. So we're just going to set that to 270. That's downwards. Okay, so in GameMaker, to the right is 0, up is 90, left is 180, down is 270. So we want gravity to pull downwards. And we click OK. Now in here, when we execute player script initialize, we want to set the friction, that's argument 0, to 0.6. We want to set the maximum speed to 8. We want to set the can jump at the start, at least. This is just at the start. It's not permanent. To false. And we want to set argument 3, which was the jump speed, to -13. So we click OK. And that's our initialize bit done. Now, we're going to have another script, and this is going to be called player main. Mine's empty. And then we're going to have a few more scripts, and these are going to be to do with jumping and some other stuff. So we can put most of this in player main. So let's start in there. And first of all, we want to determine what sprite the player is currently using. So let's have a look here and start with some code. So if the vertical speed is greater than 0, then we're going to change the sprite into sprite jump. Okay, so if the vertical speed is greater than 0, we're going to change it into sprite jump. Now we can actually get away here with doing a few little cheats without putting these brackets in. If there's only one command that comes after an if statement, we don't actually need to put it inside brackets. So sprite index equals SPR. In this case, I think we want it to be landing, because vertical speed, if it's greater than 0, it must be going down, so he must be landing. If v speed, and we're not going to use else for this, because some things we want it to overwrite previous things. If v speed is less than 0, sprite index equals SPR jumping. And if there is a collision at a position, so if not, place free x, y plus 1. so the position below him. Then we're going to set the sprite index equals SPR running. Okay, so we've got these things set up. If he's in the air, it's going to be set to jumping. If he's in the air going upwards, it's going to be set to jumping. If he's in the air going downwards, it's going to be set to landing. If the position below him is not place free, so there is a solid object below him, we're going to set the sprite to running. And then we go further down and we do some other things here. So we're going to change a few other stuff. We're going to set up all our graphics first, essentially. If not place free, x, y plus 1, and that shouldn't be there, and keyboard check variable key no key, so no key is being pushed, sprite index equals SPR idle. Okay, so what I can do here is I've actually got two checks that are the same. I could do something to make this a little bit better, but I'm not going to worry about it because I think that this is fairly readable. Sometimes you want to go with readability over short, concise code. So if not place free and sprite index equals sprite running. If the place is not free and there's no key being pushed, then we're going to set it to idle. Okay, so if there is a key being pushed, if he's moving, if there's a position below him, then we can set it to running. We probably should check this, and we'll change it later on if it doesn't work, and we'll change that to say, and the horizontal speed is greater than or less than 0, then that should work. Okay, so now we're going to add some movement in. Let's just have a quick look and see. All right, let's start adding in some movement. First, we want to limit the maximum speed. So we're going to limit the maximum speed. If the horizontal speed is greater than the max speed, then h speed equals max speed. Now, it's not giving me any syntax errors. In this case, it's probably going to be best and more readable to do it this way. Okay, so let's go up here, set up sprite indexes. This one, limit max speed in either direction. These are just code comments that are going to explain what this chunk of code does. Else, if h speed is less than negative max speed, h speed equals negative max speed. So how this chunk of code works, say we're running along and the speed is increased, and then we get up to speed 8, which is the max speed. But the speed is still going to increase because that's what we're going to tell it the code to do. So the speed gets up to 9. Well, suddenly the horizontal speed is greater than the max speed, so we're going to bring that back to max speed. So it's really going to toggle between 9 and 8, but the player won't notice it. It's going to limit that max speed. Same with this. So we're running to the left and the max speed, the horizontal speed is getting up to -9. Well, it's less than -8. So we're going to limit it back to -8. So that's how that bit of code works. Now we're going to assign the gravity for the player. And if place free, x, y plus 1, then we're going to set gravity equals 1. Else, gravity equals 0. We already set the direction of the gravity in the initial thing, so this is just going to check, is there a solid object below it? No. Then set the gravity to 1. Else, so yes, there is a solid object. Set the gravity to 0. Okay. So now player movement with keys. And we'll set keys A and D. So this is left and right movement. so if place free, x minus 1, y, then, oops, and keyboard check. I've got to actually check that they're pushing the A key. Ord A. Then we're going to go x minus equals, sorry, not that. H speed minus equals 1. So that's going to the left. Then if place underscore free, x plus 1, y should be 1. And keyboard underscore check, ORD, D is the right movement key. H speed plus equals 1. I also want to be able to mirror the sprite, but I'm going to add that in later on. We're just going to get the movement down first. And lastly, whoops, so let me bring that back up. In this bit of code, we're going to have player jump code. So if place free, x, y plus 1. We want to check that there is a position free below the player. Then we're going to set the v speed equals 0. Okay, so if there's a position, sorry, let me just double check what I wrote last time. Oh, hold on. And keyboard check. So they're pushing the W key, ORD W. We're not going to worry about ducking. So if there's a place below them and they're pushing the W key, V speed equals jump speed. Okay, so jump speed, I'm pretty sure we set it in here. Yep, jump speed equals -13 in that case. So we're going to suddenly set the vertical speed to -13. They're going to fly up in the air. Gravity is going to start bringing them back down. Okay, now in here, what we need to do is, I might just bring this bit out and make a change. If keyboard check W, and then put this here, tab this bit in, put that here. It's going to be easier to write it this way. Okay, so if they push the W key, now it's going to check if there's a place below them free. If it isn't, if it isn't, so there is an object below them, if there is a collision there, so I need to say not place free. So if there's a solid object below them, then they're going to be able to jump. Else, if place free. Actually, I can just say else, because if the opposite of that would be that it is free. And let's write the code for this bit here. Okay, Ken underscore jump equals true. I'm going to set that to true. Actually, let's think about this. I've got the other code here, and it's a bit complex and just kind of reading through it. So this is essentially what we want to do. And it's a little bit difficult to translate from GML to written code. So let's say else. If can underscore jump is equal to 1. Now this is where it's really important that you get these indentations going properly, because it's going to make your code a lot more readable. Now I can see that this is the starting one for that. And if you actually click before it, it'll show you where the starting and opening brackets are. If it's missing one, it'll give you an error saying that it's missing somewhere. Okay, so all this code here will only happen or be checked if I'm pushing W. This stuff here will only happen if that happens, and if that happens, of course. This stuff here will only happen if that's not true. So if can jump is equal to 1, then the speed equals jump speed. This is my double jump essentially. And then I'm going to say can jump equals false. And that should be true. If can jump is equal to true, then v speed is equal to jump speed. Can jump is equal to false. This is going to allow me to do my double jump. Then if and I'm going to do my wall jump stuff now. So if not place free, and this code might be a bit complex, try and take the time to understand what's happening. X plus 1, so I'm checking to the right, and this is if there's a wall on the right, the Y position. H speed equals let's see what I've written in the previous code. Okay, negative max speed, so we're going to boost away from it. Negative max speed, and v speed equals jump speed, so we're going to jump up. I'll just check what I did. Yep, v speed equals jump speed, and that should be the score there. Okay, and I'll just copy that bit of code and place it there, and this is going to be -1. So I'm going to set it to positive max speed, same jump speed as well. So it's going to boost away to the right if there's a wall to the left of it. Lastly, just a sec. Okay, I'm back. And lastly, that should be all for now. That should actually work. Okay, so if we're pushing the W key, if the place below us is free, then that's fine. Else, if we can jump, then we can do a second jump, and then we'll set that jump to false. Now, at some stage, we need to set that can jump back to true, or we won't be able to actually jump. If there's a wall to the left, then, sorry, to the right, then we can wall jump from it, even if can jump is not true. And if there is a wall jump counts as a double jump as well, so you won't be able to continue to double jump afterwards. And if there's a wall to the left, then we'll boost to the right and jump upwards. So that should all work. I'll tick that. And we're going to need another script. Okay, we're going to call this one player block collision. We could do it in that main script, but it would be quite complex. So we're just going to do it in a separate event. So we go into here. We're going to add an event, collision with the block. And then in this script, this is the script that's going to be executed. Now, what I need to find is a code, the equivalent of move to collision. Move to contact. Move to search. Move to contact. Okay, move contact solid. This is what we want. So this is the first thing that's going to go in there. Move contact solid. And we've got to give it two things, a direction and a maximum speed. The direction is just going to be direction, and the maximum speed is going to be -1. I don't really understand how this works. Okay, I just know that it needs to be done because it's in all the tutorials, and if we don't do it, it's going to glitch out. Okay, even in here, it doesn't really explain it. This function will move the instance running the code a set number of pixels in the specified direction until it meets an instance with solid flagged as true. So it's a little bit, it's just kind of what it's doing is it's essentially moving it to the contact position rather than being in it. Because if it's moving at 5 pixels per frame, and say that we're 2 pixels above the block, well, the next frame it's going to be 3 pixels into the block, and it's just going to move it to the contact position. So it's going to move it up 3 pixels. That's what it's doing. So it's a function that does that. Explaining it's a little bit difficult. Okay, so now we do if not place free x, y plus 1. Then we're going to say can jump equals true. Okay, so this is saying if there is a solid object below us, then can jump is equal to true. Okay, because we can collide with the wall to the left, right, above us, etc. So we can't just say when we collide with the wall, set can jump to true. We need to check, is the position below us? And we're going to check some other positions now. We're going to check above us. If not place free x, y minus 1, then we're going to set the vertical speed equals 0. Okay, that's going to be, if we're hitting the wall, we're going to set that vertical speed to 0. We don't want him to continue to move through the wall. We're just going to say there is a wall here, stop moving. Okay, so we're going to also check below us and do the same thing. If not place free x, y plus 1. We've actually done that up here. So let's just fix this up. We're going to set v speed equals 0. Okay, so that's if there's a platform below us. And then to the left and the right, if not place free x minus 1, y, then h speed equals 0. If not place free x plus 1, y, h speed equals 0. Okay, that's going to stop him from running through the walls. When he hits the wall, the speed is going to be reduced to 0. There's a few other things here. I'm just looking at the code going down. So we've done that, move to direction. If there's a collision below the player, set variable can jump to 1. If there is a collision above the player, if v speed is less than 0, we don't really need to do that. Actually, yes, we do. So I will need to fix that in a sec. Otherwise, he'll get stuck on the ceilings and stuck on the ground. But lastly, down here, if there is a position at -1, 1, so that's all good. Okay, so we need to actually fix up these bits a little bit here. So I can take that out like I was going to do before and just say, if he's touching the ground, can jump is equal to true. And then I go if not place underscore free x, y plus 1, v speed equals 0. Now I do need to add some extra conditions here. And the reason being that if I do, say for example this one, and he touches the roof, well now every step is going to be colliding with that object, and it's going to check, is there an object above him, and set the vertical speed to 0. He'll never fall down. So I need to check and say, and v speed, in this case, is less than 0. Okay, and this one's going to be and v speed is greater than 0. That way he'll still be able to jump. And h speed is less than 0. And h speed is greater than 0. Okay, so that should be all for that. And then I will go run this code. Player block collision. There's no arguments to add. I'm pretty sure this is all the code we need for our player. Most of it, we've got the movement left and right. We've got the no key. We've got setting up the sprites. We've got the create, we've got the gravity, we've got the jump. We just don't have the knife movement. So now what I'm going to do is put in some of these objects so that he can run on them. Add a whole bunch here. Okay, so let's test this. Hopefully everything's working fine. Okay, so he stands on the platform. The animation speed's a bit wacky. And the double jump's not working. But let's go into the test room and we'll just add in something that I can wall jump off. If you're not using test rooms, you're not working efficiently. If you've tried to create all your graphics first, you're not working efficiently. Okay, so wall jumps are working really well actually. I can just hold up and it will automatically do it. Now he's running backwards in some cases. That wall jump is really bizarre. I know why it's doing it. It's because I did a keyboard check instead of a keyboard check press, which is what I've done here. And that's also why the double jump's not working. So if I just go back into my code for main and go down to player jump code, keyboard check pressed. So that means I've got to actually press the key to jump, and I should be able to now do a proper double jump. So W, yeah, I can do a proper double jump. All right, so looking at this, there's a few other things we want to make changes to. I'm just going to go into my test room and go to views, enable the use of views, and make this view a bit smaller, 320 by 200. That's view is fine. Follow the player with a, I'll say 150 there and 150 there. Okay. I just want to you to be able to see what's happening with the player a bit better. Okay, that didn't work at all. Views are visible when the room starts. There we go. Okay, so there's my player. He's idling. He can run. He can double jump. The animation's pretty hideous at the moment. Now he can wall jump, and I've got to tap every time. Okay, and so you see that jump. When he's going up, he's animating one. When he's going downwards, he's got a different animation. It all seems to work pretty well. So what I need to do now is figure out how to mirror the sprite so that when he's moving to the left, the sprite for the left animation shows. When he's moving to the right, that shows, and also how to change the animation speed. So let's quickly do a Google search here. And what do I want to know? Mirror Sprite GML. Okay, so the thing is image X scale is -1. So that's a bit weird. I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought there was a function. We're going to play a main. H speed equals max speed. And in here, we're going to put image underscore X scale equals 1. And over here, image underscore X scale equals -1. Now that should be all we need to do to mirror that sprite. No, that didn't work. So I might have to have a look at it again. Player main. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong place. I'm looking for the A and D down here. Equals 1. That will only do it when they reach max speed. So suddenly it'll be running backwards and then flip around. That's what we want down here. Run this. Okay, I've got them around the wrong way, but it is flipping them. So I just want to go -1. Oh, of course, that's left and that's right. I also want to set the animation speed at all times to be a factor of how fast he's moving to the right or left. Okay, so that's working. He's running left or right, jumping left or right. Okay, so that's all good. So last thing to do for this part of the video at least is to go into the main, and for this image speed equals h speed. And I might use a function ABS. Yep. So that's going to give me the absolute value because I don't want to use negative speeds. I don't want the animation to run backwards. Absolute h speed times 2. And I'll put that down in this code as well. This is one that I don't want to put outside. And the idle speed, where's the idle speed? I'm going to put this here. I'm going to actually put this on a new line and that coming in. Image speed equals 6. Okay, so that's when he's idling. It's going to set it to 6 rather than have some weird variable speed. Now, these values might need to be changed a little bit. That's a bit bizarre. I might fix it up in the next video because everything else is working. So I'm going to save it there and I'll explain how to fix that in the next video.